Okay, so I need to save this final one, Carl Depth Exposure 3, to the desktop. And now I've got 3 processed photos, all on my desktop. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to put them into a folder. Let's see, let's call it Processed Exposures. So we've narrowed down from our best exposures to these processed exposures, telling our story, fulfilling the vision of our sketch. And the reason I put them in a folder is so I can do this in Photoshop. I'm going to go to View Options within my Finder window. And the next step is to figure out how I want to arrange these. I know this is my sequence, but how do I want them to show up in a story? So if this is my matte window, how will I show them? All right, so this is kind of complicated. In my sketch, I showed them kind of stacked on top of each other, like that, and I kind of liked it, that the establishing shot would be smaller than the rest. So this is kind of matching up to that. That kind of works. I can see how they look side by side. You know, this kind of works. I like that, actually. Kind of keeps it around. And the clock is really clear in all of them. And this kind of curvature through the horns. So once I kind of get an idea, like maybe this is how I want them to be formatted together. Maybe take a quick screen grab of that as reference, so that something like this would be my final project, right? So how do I do that? Well, I start with one of them. I open them up in Photoshop. I already have them open. I'm going to start with number 1. Okay? And in order to bring them over and have a white background that's not affected by my adjustment layers, I have to merge visible. So I select the top layer, I hold down Option, and I go to Layer Merge Visible. And I actually let go of Option so that it's all together and flattened into one background. I could have also just said flatten. If I hold down Option and say Layer Merge Visible, then it puts everything on top. But there's no real reason for me to keep all this underneath. And you'll see why. So I'm just going to go ahead and say Layer Flatten Image. Now, no, I changed my mind. You can do this a variety of ways. Okay, so this is my finished thing. I go to my top layer, I hold down Option, I say Layer Merge Visible, and it puts it on the top. I'm going to create a new layer that's just a blank layer. And now I'm going to create a canvas size around my image. And I'm thinking of how I laid it out, right? I want the image off to the left with space, a little bit of space, mostly to the right. So this isn't about centering it. So I'm going to move it off to the left, and I'm going to grow its width. You can always crop down, so let's make it nice and big, and I'm going to grow its height nice and big, maybe 30 by 40. And the extension color will be white. Okay, and now I need to grow it. That was a little extreme on the right side. Now I need to do it again, canvas size, and now I want to move over and add to the left a little bit. And I'm going to add on about 5 inches. All right, so now I have a canvas. Now why didn't I flatten it? Well, this allows me to have a layer on top that I can move around should I need to, right? I can get rid of my other layers. I don't need these anymore. And I'm going to fill that background flat layer completely with white. Okay. So now I have these floating layers on white. Okay, I want to bring in my other frames now. I have them minimized. And before I can bring them over, I need to flatten them. So make sure they're saved ahead of time. They are. So I say layer flatten. And then I just bring them over as a flattened image. Right? And then I close and don't save, because I don't want to save them as flattened. You just have to kind of think it through a little bit. Make sure you save it first. It's saved. Layer flatten. Then bring that whole layer over and close and don't save. And now I've got my finished composition, or at least the potential in one file for a finished composition. I can crop it a little bit, save some space. I know I don't need this much space. I definitely don't want to grow these, but I might want to shrink some of them. So let me crop some of the white space around it for the time being. What it might look like inside a mat. And now I save it as a different name because I don't want to overwrite my first depth exposure. So Carl, assignment 7, 3 layers of depth to the desktop. And now this is what I need to work on. I've got 3 flattened finished exposures processed on a white background. I can play with arrangement now and decide what if this last one is smaller than the others. So Command T, whoop, wrong one. Move that one up. Command T, shrink it. You can hold down Option and kind of shrink it towards the middle. What if that one is slightly smaller? How much space do I want between them? So that's kind of nice. Maybe move this one in a little bit closer. So that those spaces match a little bit, so it feels like it's a circle in time. There's no clear way to read it, because we want to read left to right, but we also want to read top to bottoms. So we go from here to here. Right? If I want to adjust slightly individual ones, like I can take this one, compared with that, and adjust its color balance. Give it a little bit more cyan. Compete with some of the others. It's just the balances were a little bit off because of the zoom. Now that seems to work. And I like how we have this repetition of 3s, right? 3 of the big robot, 3 of the little robot, all looking different, 3 of the clocks. And that's moving my eye through it in an interesting way. And now I just finished the cropping. Okay, so this is the arrangement I like. This is how I want it to show. So I say File, Save as my PSD. But now I'm going to do my final processing on everything, just like we did with our with our last project, the PhotoCubist project. So I think this is an improvement on this, so I can close that now. This kind of tells my story, a little photo essay here. What I need to do now is take all three of these layers, not the background, and merge them. So layer, merge visible. So they're all on one layer now. Okay. I'm going to turn off the background white, and then I'm going to run actions. Full run up F9 to view on that photo. Just to see what it does when it pushes it in all these different directions. These 15 most common actions that I use. Now, because they're already pretty heightened photos, heightened with their focus, heightened with their color, heightened with their lighting, most of these are going to look really bad. They're going to push them way too far. But I'm just looking for little aspects that might intrigue me. Well, that one looks kind of neat. And then I'll use them, put them on top of my original, and decide what helps the most. And hopefully we're getting more and more comfortable with this and more refined. So window arrange, float all in windows. Hit F9. See my original there. Start getting rid of some. That's really garish. Well, it's kind of interesting. But not what I'm going for this time. Nope. Now that one's pretty cool. It's really extreme, but I might minimize that one. Now this one's very vintage. It brings out the golds, but no, I don't think so. And this one I thought was really pretty interesting. So if ever I could get away with these kind of crazy ones, it would be on this project. The heightened drama. It's always good to have drama, right? Maybe? No. Yeah, cross-processing works for this. No sepia. Black and white, very journalistic, but no. Polaroid effect. I think the others do it better. Okay, now I bring these back. You notice how I didn't save max texture on this because a lot of it's about... Oh, there's max texture. A lot of it's about focus. I want to make sure it's not bringing focus to things I don't want it to bring focus to. Yeah, and this makes it a little, it makes even the out of focus a little high passy. So I don't know. I don't know about max texture. We'll see. Heightened drama, it makes it a little too extreme. So no, not that one. So I have these three. They're all pretty different, and when I flatten them, remember, this is what happens. So layer, flatten. Layer, flatten. Layer, flatten. It's going to fill in that white space with a color. And I actually really like this. So I'm going to select it all, copy it, move it on top of my original, and then to get rid of that color, let's get off the crop tool there, I select my layer with no background. I move it to that selection to this top layer and I hit delete. So we're going to do that to all